So one song that I think is just a very vital song when it comes to just understanding sociosexual dynamics, and a song that I really believe, like ever since the first time I heard it, there's a song called Make It Better by Paak. And the first time I heard that song, immediately, and it had Smokey Robinson on there. I love it. I love my oldies. The first time I heard the song, like, this song will save marriages. Now, why do I say that? Because one thing that people often do is they overlook the importance of sex when it comes to long-term relationships. Oftentimes, people have a mindset where they get really comfortable. They don't understand the importance of spontaneity. They don't understand the importance of doing something different. And people get comfortable. And in that place of getting comfortable, because you believe that your relationship is cemented with someone, because the way you enter that relationship, or maybe just the woes of life, just life will wear on you, and then you're not really focused on maintaining the sexual connection. And this is how the man who wrote the song is a man. He's a man who's experienced with being married, because in this song he talks about how can we men when we're worlds apart. Like, I made a video called if you can make love, you can make up. How can you men when you're worlds apart? Well, when you're in a different place, like the energy, the masculine feminine dynamic between men and women is primarily based on this. It's your sexual chemistry, and then also your masculine feminine dynamic, your sexual polarity, and the masculine feminine, the dominance and the submission. It's these different aspects of it. And a relationship isn't built on all those things all the time, right? Like, when you're in a long-term relationship with someone, especially a marriage or just a long-term relationship, oftentimes a lot of those things you become familiar with the person. A lot of those things end up becoming situations where you're working more like a partnership than working in a way that creates good sexual polarity between you. And when you're in that process of becoming very familiar with a person and having to compromise, having to do these different things that come with having a successful relationship, especially if you're doing things by societal standards to tell you that communication is the most important thing, what will often happen is you will lose sexual polarity along the process. Like, when you're dealing with someone and your mindset is every problem you have, you need to communicate it, and you don't understand the importance of knowing how to make love and make up. And I'm not talking about getting some Scooby Snack pussy or getting some smoothest overhead. I'm talking about you're in a place where you're both in a different place at that moment, and you might be starting to grow apart, but you can use that sexual chemistry, that sexual bond, the sexual connection to pull you back together in times where you're starting to drift apart. Now, the reason I say this is this. Some situations need to be broken up. Some situations need to be, they need to be torn asunder. Like, some situations, they need to end. But not all situations do. And sometimes you're in a place where you are with a person who you have a full capacity to be compatible with sexually and non-sexually. And if you made the right choice about who it is that you're with or who you're married to, then just assume that when it comes to this type of situation. And even in those situations where you and a person can who would have a capacity to get along well, where you may have a capacity to have good sex with each other, where you may have a capacity to have a good masculine feminine dynamic, it's really easy to become comfortable. It's really easy to become familiar. It's really easy to get in such a rhythm of life that you lose all spontaneity and you lose all sexual desire for one another, because it's just too familiar. It's too familiar. That's why I think it's important to have a mindset about sexuality where, especially if you're a long-term relationship type of person, where the goal is that your sexual desire for that person will strengthen with the depth of your connection and not just through spontaneity. But you have to understand that sometimes, not everyone has that mindset. And when you don't have that mindset, then it'll often lead to you needing to go into those more out-the-box type of situations and to continue doing that, because there's always going to be a little remnant of that there. That newness, that spark is what drew you together in the first place. You have to remember what drew you together. So if those are the things that draw you together and you're in that type of situation, then what you need to do is you need to find a way to make it new. Find a way to renew that spark. You need to find a way to do that. That's important. That's very important. Stop overlooking the importance of sex in your long-term relationships, because when you do that, you're going to lose a man is going to stop feeling like a man when it comes to his woman, right? If you're just partners, you just become pretty much platonic friends and roommates. A man will stop feeling like the man, right? If he doesn't feel desired by his woman. And a woman will stop feeling like the woman if she doesn't feel desired and ravished and taken by her man, right? So it's a matter of, setting up those new experiences, going somewhere you've never gone before, talking to each other about the new things that you're into, to see the way that you can mend the situation, talking about different things that may excite you that you didn't previously talk about because you just assumed you knew everything about one another. That's not the case. People are two complete beings. Enmeshment is an issue, and I don't think it's always wrong, but there are certain places where that enmeshment will get rid of your sexual polarity and the tension will be gone. And then you'll have to find that with a new person, right? But the issue with it is this: if it is a person who you have the capacity to have sexual chemistry with and a person you have the capacity to have non-sexual compatibility with, then when you try to start that with a new person, that spark that you experience by cheating is the same thing you had with the previous person. That spark you have by dealing with a new person is the same thing you had or probably could have had with the person that you're with already if you're sexually attracted to them. And it can put you in a situation where you're just going to go through that same cycle, where you're going to meet someone, you're going to have that spark, that emotional thing, you're going to have that sexual chemistry for a little while, but because you don't work on it, because you don't water it, because you don't nurture your sexual connection, you're going to get to the place where it's going to die out. And when it dies out, you're going to find a new thing. And when you find that new thing, that situation is going to end up dying out too. That's how people go through multiple marriages. I think most situations where marriages end in irreconcilable differences is because, they didn't have either they were so caught up on trying to communicate and go through therapy and all of these different things without making sure that their masculine and feminine dynamic was down. They went through all this communication. They went through all this stuff without getting to the place where that woman was naturally submissive to that man through their sexual chemistry and through his ability to lead, right? And when you go through that process of doing things the societal way, it's naturally built to kill sexual desire. You get comfortable, you get complacent. So I think this song, Make It Better by Anderson .Paak and Smokey Robinson is one that is going to save many marriages. I think it's a song that will put people in a position where they really start to prioritize making sure that they nurture and water the flower, the plant that is the sexual relationship that they have with the person that they're connected to. Because the thing is this, it's like oftentimes this cycle of getting hot and heavy and burning out is often placed in the Madonna whore complex to a certain extent. I'm always talking about the Madonna whore complex, but it's based in that sexual desire only being based in the newness. You have to get to the point where that you either get to the point where you learn to have a sexual connection with someone that deepens as you get to know them better, or you get to the place where you know how to always find a way to spice things up. You have to always have a way to spice things up, especially if you're not at that place where the connection deepens your sexual connection with that individual. So just keep these things in mind. And this is why I think that the song Make It Better by Anderson .Paak is really a great song that's going to help a lot of people. So this is just a Blur Pill review on Make It Better by Anderson .Paak and Smokey Robinson. Brody Dharma out.